English Leap Podcast.
From Speak English with Class.
Hello, lovely listeners. Welcome to the English Leap Podcast. I'm Erin, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Evan. We're so excited you're here with us today.
Hey, English learners! Today's episode is going to be a real eye-opener. We're diving into one of the most powerful tools for improving your English fluency. It's called shadowing.
Now, if you're thinking, shadowing? What's that? Don't worry, you're in for a treat. And if you've heard of it before or even tried it, stick around, because we're going to uncover the biggest mistakes learners make and share some incredible tips to make this practice work for you.
That's right. Whether you're a beginner or someone who's been practicing for years, this episode has something for everyone. Shadowing isn't just a technique. It's like stepping into the shoes of a fluent speaker.
But before we dive in, we have a little something to make this journey even easier for you. We've created a free PDF guide to go along with this episode. It's packed with tips, examples, and even a practice plan to help you master shadowing.
You can grab it through the link in the description. It's like having a personal English coach right at your fingertips.
So make yourself comfortable. Grab your headphones, a cup of coffee, or your favorite drink, and let's dive into why shadowing is such a game changer for learning English.
That's right. Let's get into it.
Let's start with the big question. Why is shadowing such a powerful tool for learning English? I'll be honest. When I first heard about it, I was skeptical. I thought, how can repeating someone else make me fluent? But then I tried it. And wow, it was a total game changer.
I remember I was listening to a podcast, and I decided to mimic the host just for fun. At first, I was fumbling over the words, but as I kept going, I realized something amazing. I wasn't just learning vocabulary. I was picking up the flow of English.
Exactly. Shadowing helps you internalize the language. It's not just about words. It's about how those words fit together in real-life conversations. The rhythm, the melody, the stress, it all starts to feel natural.
And let's not forget the listening benefits. When you shadow, you train your ears to hear things you might normally miss, like how native speakers link words together or drop certain sounds. For example, instead of, "What are you doing?" you might hear, "What you doing?"
Yes, and that's such a confidence booster. I remember shadowing a TED Talk by one of my favorite speakers, and after a few sessions, I found myself mirroring their energy and intonation. It felt like I had borrowed their speaking style for my own conversations.
Totally relatable. I once shadowed an audiobook from a motivational speaker. Not only did it improve my fluency, but it also gave me this extra boost of positivity every time I practiced. It's like you're embodying the speaker you're shadowing.
And you know what's great? You don't need a fancy setup to do it. You can shadow anywhere, while you're walking, cooking, or even commuting. I used to shadow while waiting for the bus. Sure, I got a few funny looks, but it was worth it.
I've shadowed while driving. My car became my little English bubble. And honestly, it's such a productive way to use time that might otherwise go to waste.
So if you're wondering why shadowing works, it's because it helps you live the language. You're not just learning English, you're experiencing it in action.
Absolutely. It's like learning a dance. You're not just watching the steps, you're moving with the rhythm and feeling the flow. And over time, it becomes second nature.
Now that we know why shadowing is so effective, let's talk about how to actually do it. Evan, when you first started shadowing, how did you approach it?
Well, at first, I just tried to mimic whatever I was hearing, which worked okay, but I didn't have a system. Then I learned that there are two main ways to shadow: on the go and focused. I think you're more of a focused shadower, right?
Exactly. For me, focused shadowing is the way to go. I pick a short clip, like a minute or two, and I really break it down. I play a sentence, pause, and then repeat it out loud. I focus on the pronunciation, the rhythm, and even the speaker's energy.
That's great for when you're sitting at your desk and have time to concentrate. I, on the other hand, love on-the-go shadowing. I'll listen to a podcast or an audiobook while I'm walking or driving, and I try to echo what the speaker is saying in real time without pausing.
Both methods are great, and they work for different goals. Focused shadowing helps you perfect specific aspects, like tricky sounds or intonation patterns. On-the-go shadowing is more about fluency and getting comfortable with the flow of the language.
Exactly. Here's an example. When I was shadowing a sports podcast, I learned how native speakers connect words naturally. Instead of saying, "I want to go," it sounded like, "I want to go." It's subtle, but so important for sounding natural.
I love that. For me, shadowing speeches or TED Talks is fun because you get to mimic the speaker's confidence and tone. It's almost like borrowing their charisma. I once shadowed a motivational talk, and by the end, I felt like I could give the speech myself.
Another tip, choose something you actually enjoy. I shadowed a stand-up comedy special once. Not only did I pick up new vocabulary, but I also got a better sense of comedic timing in English. It was so much fun.
That's such a good point. When you're shadowing something you're excited about, it doesn't feel like work. And don't forget, you don't have to shadow the whole thing. Even 30 seconds or a single paragraph can make a big difference.
And remember, you can adjust the speed if it feels too fast. Most apps let you slow down the audio, which makes it easier to catch every detail and stay on track.
So whether you're on the go or sitting down for focused practice, the key is consistency. Even 5 minutes a day can make a huge impact.
Exactly. It's all about showing up, practicing with intention, and trusting the process. Shadowing isn't just about copying. It's about learning how to feel the language.
So, shadowing sounds amazing, right? But like any learning technique, it's only effective if you're doing it the right way. Let's talk about some common mistakes people make when shadowing and how to avoid them.
Absolutely, Erin. And you're so right. It's not just about doing it, but doing it well. I'll admit, I've made plenty of mistakes. The biggest one? Trying to tackle too much too soon. When I first started, I thought, why not shadow an entire TED Talk? Yeah, that didn't end well.
Oh, I've been there too. I once tried to shadow a whole episode of my favorite TV show. Let's just say I was out of breath and confused by the end of it. Shadowing isn't a marathon. It's about starting small and focusing on quality over quantity.
Exactly. I love that. Quality over quantity. And honestly, a 30-second clip or even just a single paragraph can do wonders. It's all about mastering one thing at a time.
Right. And another common mistake is shadowing on autopilot. If you're just repeating words without really listening for things like intonation, rhythm, or stress, you're missing out. Shadowing isn't about being a parrot. It's about truly understanding how the language works.
That's such a great point. I used to do that too. I was so focused on saying the words correctly that I completely ignored how they were being said. I wasn't picking up on the tone or pacing, which, let's face it, is half the magic of English.
Exactly. And here's another big one: expecting perfection right away. I can't tell you how frustrated I used to get when I couldn't match the speaker perfectly. But then I realized that mistakes are actually a good thing. They show you what needs work.
Oh, totally. I've learned to embrace the mistakes. I always remind myself, progress, not perfection. It's about moving forward, not getting everything right on the first try. And honestly, when you let go of that pressure, shadowing becomes so much more enjoyable.
Another mistake I see is choosing material that doesn't excite or motivate you. I once tried shadowing a dry business report. It was torture. If the content doesn't interest you, you're not going to stick with it.
That's a great point. I always tell people to pick material they love. If you're into movies, shadow a dialogue from your favorite film. If you love podcasts, choose a host whose voice inspires you. The more you enjoy it, the more you'll want to practice.
Yes. Shadowing something you're passionate about keeps it fun and engaging. So whether it's a speech, a comedy skit, or a song, choose something that makes you want to practice.
Absolutely. And for anyone just starting out, remember, start small, stay focused, pick content you love, and don't stress about being perfect. Shadowing is about progress, and every step counts.
And above all, enjoy the journey. Shadowing isn't just about learning English. It's about connecting with the language in a way that feels personal and exciting. Okay, now that we've covered the common mistakes, let's talk about how to make shadowing as effective and efficient as possible. Evan, you've been shadowing for a while. What's your top tip for making the most of it?
Great question, Aaron. For me, it starts with choosing the right material. If you're going to spend time shadowing, pick something that resonates with you. A speaker whose voice you admire or content that excites you. I once shadowed an audiobook by a motivational speaker, and it didn't just improve my English. It made me feel inspired every time I practiced.
I love that. And I'll add, don't be afraid to slow things down. If the audio feels too fast, use playback tools to reduce the speed. This helps you focus on every little detail, like how sounds connect or where the speaker places stress in a sentence.
Absolutely. Slowing down makes a huge difference. Another tip is to record yourself while shadowing. I know it might feel awkward at first, but when you listen back, you'll catch things you didn't notice while speaking, like missing sounds or awkward rhythm.
That's such a great point. Listening to yourself can be a little cringy at first. I've been there, but it's such a valuable way to improve. You can hear where you're doing well and where you need more practice.
Exactly. And here's another one. Set small, specific goals for each shadowing session. Instead of trying to master everything at once, focus on one thing, like pronunciation, intonation, or word connections. For example, I once spent an entire week just focusing on the difference between can and can't. It made a world of difference.
Yes, intentional practice is so important. If you're trying to improve everything all at once, it can get overwhelming. But when you focus on one specific area, you see progress much faster.
And here's one more. Repetition. Don't just shadow a clip once and move on. Repeat it several times. The more you practice, the more natural it feels. I remember shadowing a short movie monologue for a week straight. By the end, I could say it with the same confidence and rhythm as the actor.
Absolutely. Repetition is key. And let's not forget, shadowing is not just about improving your English. It's about building your confidence. The more you practice, the more fluent and comfortable you'll feel.
So, to recap, choose material you love, slow down when you need to, record yourself, set clear goals, and repeat, repeat, repeat. Shadowing is a journey, and every little step gets you closer to fluency.
And most importantly, have fun with it. Shadowing should feel like a creative and enjoyable process, not a chore. The more you enjoy it, the more motivated you'll be to keep going.
Couldn't have said it better myself, Aaron. So, listeners, take these tips and start practicing. We promise, it's worth it.
Wow, we've covered so much about shadowing today. From why it's such a powerful tool to how to do it, and even avoiding those common pitfalls, I hope you're feeling ready to give it a try.
And just when you thought we were done, we've got one more treat for you. It's time for my favorite part of the show, our Charlotte section.
Ah yes, Charlotte is here to break down some of the key vocabulary and expressions we've mentioned today. So if you heard a word or phrase that made you think, what does that mean? Don't worry, Charlotte's got you covered. Take it away, Charlotte.
Hello, English learners. I'm Charlotte, and I'm here to break down some key words and phrases from today's episode. Let's make sure you're not just saying the words but really understanding them. Ready? Let's go. Skeptical. Meaning, doubting or not being sure about something. Example, she was skeptical about trying the new restaurant because of the mixed reviews online. Fumbling. Meaning, struggling to do something or handle something, often in a clumsy way. Example, he was fumbling with his keys, trying to unlock the door in the dark. Mirroring. Meaning, copying someone's actions, behavior, or way of speaking. Example, the child was mirroring his older brother's gestures while pretending to play guitar. Intonation. Meaning, the rise and fall of your voice when speaking, which shows emotion or makes a sentence a question or a statement. Example, her intonation was cheerful, which made her presentation engaging and lively. Embodying. Meaning, representing or fully expressing a quality, idea, or feeling. Example, the actor was incredible at embodying the emotions of a character during the performance. Pacing. Meaning, the speed at which someone speaks or does something. Example, the teacher's pacing was slow and clear, which helped the students follow the lesson easily. Eye-opener. Meaning, a surprising or enlightening experience that teaches you something new. Example, traveling to another country for the first time was a real eye-opener for her. It completely changed her perspective. Internalize. Meaning, to fully absorb and make something a natural part of your thinking or behavior. Example, after months of practice, she was able to internalize the dance routine and perform it effortlessly. Commuting. Meaning, traveling between your home and work or another regular destination. Example, he spends an hour commuting to work every day by train. Charisma. Meaning, a special charm or appeal that makes someone attractive and inspiring. Example, her charisma during the interview impressed the panel and helped her land the job. There you have it. 10 useful words to boost your English vocabulary. Remember to practice using them in your own sentences, and they'll quickly become part of your daily language. Back to you, Aaron and Evan.
Thank you, Charlotte. Those vocabulary tips were so helpful. I hope you all feel more confident about the key words and phrases we discussed today.
Absolutely. Vocabulary is such an important part of mastering English, and Charlotte always breaks it down so clearly. Thanks, Charlotte.
Exactly. And don't forget to grab the free PDF guide in the description. It's got everything you need to get started.
And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and share your thoughts with us in the comments or on social media.
Thanks for tuning in, and remember, progress, not perfection. See you next time.
Your progress doesn't end here. To continue advancing your English skills, click on the next video or explore the additional videos we've thoughtfully selected for you.